Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're ready for our first game. So we are playing on GSL Battleship Beach. As you saw there, I just checked out who is in what. I believe Seam was Diamond, and JoeMcDoug is Platinum. So this is going to be some pretty high-level play. So let's see. It's going to be a Zerg versus Zerg. And both people are dressed up as pandas inside their wonderful suits. Interesting. Alright, we'll put the nameplates up. Get that going on. Put on the right overlay, of course. Alright, so this is Battleship Beach. Each player pretty much knows where the other one is. So, as with Zerg vs. Zerg, it's a very knife-edge way to play. Lots of, very minuscule things can have quite vicious effects on the game. So we just sort of see the production tab up here in the corner. And that'll pretty much tell which opening we're going to see from both players. JoeMcDoug throws down a drone and then goes right into Overlord production. Interesting choice. Seam pulls the extractor trick to get that little bit of extra production while he waits for his Overlord to be finished. Well, he hasn't started it quite yet, but we should see him start it momentarily. Come on, Seam, build an Overlord. Looks like he's not building an Overlord. It looks like he's going... Ooh, he's going pool right away. That's definitely an aggressive opening, so he went 10 pool, and now he's building his Overlord. JoeMcDoug, however, went sort of the other standard way and just, built drones, built an Overlord, and is now building more Zerglings. So we should see him hatch sooner rather than later. Yep, there we go. He drops the spawning pool. But he's going to be delayed, and on a smaller map like this, that could be a big deal. So we'll see, because Joe's going to be in a little bit of a disadvantage. Seam's pool is almost done, and Joe's is only about halfway there. So we'll see how that happens. We're going to see what he does after this. Interesting, he's going to build 6 Zerglings, a pretty aggressive strategy, and a Queen so he can get the Larva Inject. So JoeMcDoug's going to be a little bit of a disadvantage there. He doesn't have a Queen to do Larva Inject, and he doesn't have any Zerglings on the map. So in a few seconds here, he'll be facing, it looks like, 6 to 10 Zerglings. So we'll see how Joe handles that. He's got to immediately build... new... I'm sorry, I lost my head there for a second. He's got to immediately build Zerglings to fight off this little incoming group there. So we'll see. So we got 6 incoming. He's going to have 1 Spine Crawler finished by the time these Zerglings get there, but that's not going to be enough. He's going to need some Lings. He didn't build any Lings at all. He went straight into Roach Tech. He did have a little bit of scouting with his Overlord, but not quite enough. He managed to get the Queen out, though, but Seam's definitely going to be able to put a lot of early pressure on Joe with these Zerglings. We can see that the Overlord for Joe is here, and not, here where it needs to be. So these Zerglings are just going to park outside the base and just keep putting pressure on Joe. So right now with his Queen, that's not a good idea. He's going to be off creep. So right now he's trying to lure the Zerglings into his base, which is an interesting idea. So he's going to have to turtle up a little bit there. He did complete his Roach Warren, so he is going to be able to get out some Roaches, hopefully, to be able to deal with these Zerglings. And we can see that Seam is pulling back there and throwing down a hatch. Danon always says, attack and then expand behind that attack, which is going to give Seam a really good advantage sort of pushing out. JoeMcDoug is getting Roaches. Now, the one thing you have to be careful, though, is you can't sort of over defend. You can't just, build a bazillion Roaches and hope that's going to help you, because that'll be kind of ineffective for him if he spends all of his resources on army. So he's either got to counterattack or do something like that. We can see that he hasn't rally pointed his roaches, which is, you know, not a big deal, but seems second base is coming up here. We got everything building. It's going up to hatch. He's building 14 more lings. He's getting ling speed. JoeMcDoug is basically going into roach. He's like, you know what works? Roaches. So it looks like he's going to push out here. See those, them thaw roaches are going to push their way across the map. So Seema's got a second base up and running. He's got a whole bunch of lings there. And we're going to see, he seems to be pretty deep into the ling tech. He's just building lings. So Joe has a little bit of an advantage, but in terms of army size, he's falling behind. Now Joe's building a bunch of lings. I would definitely like to see Seem put down a baneling nest so we can start morphing these roaches, these lings, into banelings, and now the roaches are going to get surrounded. They're going to be able to do a little bit of damage, but that is a lot of lings for Seem. So he lost very few units on that attack. Joe loses the majority of his army. You can see he's 10 food down. And now we can maybe see... Oh. Ah, poor Roachy. We can see that. Yeah, he was just sort of rally pointed there. So that Roach is going to get taken out no problem. So Joe is falling a little bit further behind. He has expanded, though. But Seem has just this army of lings. And if you're not careful, those eat a little bitty bites. You know, a death of 1,000 cuts. Or 1,000 lings. So Seem, with his excellently placed Overlord, sees that, you know, there's something going on here. And Joe just doesn't have enough lings to deal with Seem's lings, so he's going to get surrounded. He's going to lose all of his lings. He's got one roach here, and JoeMcDoug calls it GG on that one. So that was a quick game. As you can see, you have to... I mean, all Joe really needed to do was to put an Overlord right on top of the base, and until that queen came out, he would have known what was going on. And he still would have had a pretty good idea what he needed to do. Build a lot of lings. Alright, so we will get ready for our second game and put on a little bit more.